to Momentum in Real Estate, your guide to success in the dynamic world of real estate. I'm Cory Wolf.
And I'm Kristin James. Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned pro, we're here to help you reach new heights.
Success in real estate comes from learning, growing, and serving others.
Join us as we dive into strategies for lead generation, marketing, market trends, and client relationships.
Get ready to ignite your momentum and achieve your goals in real estate.
Let's dive in and unlock your full potential.
This is Momentum in Real Estate.
Hey everybody, meet Darcy Elman, a real estate professional who's been helping clients buy, sell, and invest across the Bay Area with style and heart. Darcy brings integrity, sharp market savvy, and fierce negotiation skills to every deal, always aiming to exceed expectations. With a background in business ownership and development, she knows how to think strategically and advocate fiercely for her clients. Outside of real estate, Darcy's all about art, architecture, theater, gardening, and exploring the great outdoors around her homes. Plus, she's passionate about giving back, donating a portion of every commission to support Bay Area nonprofits. Welcome to the podcast, Darcy.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, thanks, Darcy. We are so excited to host you today. So, what is your real estate story in your own words?
Yeah, keeping it brief, I was in physiotherapy. I owned a big yoga Pilates studio down in the Silicon Valley area. And I'm not kidding when I say on a whim, I thought one day, what would it be like to sell real estate? And it really came from the seed and the passion I have of design. And I have owned a lot of houses. I've worked with designers. I've found myself loving entertaining around my house. So I embarked on a year of studying and then thought I'll just get this test over with and get back to my career, not thinking that that test and passing would lead to where I am today. And it's been a personal journey. I think I had goals of selling a certain amount, which I surpassed, which was really exciting. And I've also grown tremendously from this industry in terms of personally and spiritually. And more than anything, I love working with people. And I'm pretty passionate about lifestyle and helping people elevate their life through creating a legacy lifestyle around their home.
That's awesome. What's been your brokerage experience? Have you been with the same brokerage since you got into real estate, or have you bounced around a little bit?
Yeah, totally bounced around. I don't know if you want me to go into a story, but I was with a single woman who I knew from, back on the East Coast when I grew up. That didn't seem to work out because there's no open houses because she was just a solo broker. Then I moved to Zephyr, which is now Corcoran, and then I moved to Pacific Union, which then was bought out by Compass. So I am a Compass agent here in the San Francisco Bay Area.
That's awesome.
What is one aspect of your business that makes you you and makes you unique?
Yeah, I have been thinking about this, and I don't love the word value proposition. It is too dry for me. And being a creative mindset person, I try to bring right an authentic experience to each and every client. I really love to listen, and I really love to listen to what people have loved about where they live, even if it's a rental, what people's lifestyle, if they're cyclists or they love to cook, or how they move around their work world, their fun world, their family world. And all of that begins to kind of lift my imagination. I start visioning, oh, I can see your house. And that is something that I think I really just love doing. I love people. I'm curious about how people live. The other thing I would say is that I love strategy, and it's almost a driving force for me. The San Francisco market moves really fast, and the markets change. If you're in the East Bay, you're in San Francisco. If you're in Marin, you're in Silicon Valley. Those are really different markets, and how you price a house, how you list a house, and they're all very different beasts. And particularly if my seller or buyer and I are really in sync, the strategy really becomes an alchemy that is pretty beautiful. If not, then I have to honor that every seller thinks their house is going to be worth more than it is. And I'm not saying this critically. As your agents out there, you know that sometimes you have to just go, let's try it. And I'll stop there. But one last thing I want to say is one of the things that I would say, really surprised about in real estate is people know. I think I know the market, but then my buyer says one thing, my seller says another, and I go, you know what? Let's try it. And they're right sometimes. I'm not saying all the time, but I am so surprised that them saying, I think we can go in for this. Like we can try. And I'm like, all right, well, here are the pros and cons, and let's do it. And more times than I would have expected, they've been spot on.
I love that, Darcy, because I hear two things in that. One, you started out by talking about just being curious about your clients. And I love that because I feel like that's a theme for Cory and myself too. Like, we're just naturally curious about people and their lives and what makes them tick and how they've set up their home. And so I love that as sort of a driver in the way we do our business. But then the other thing I hear is there's this like, thread of humility of just like, hey, we're professionals, like we've done our homework, we have experience, we can reflect on that and integrate that. But then there's also a sense of no one actually knows, like we don't have a crystal ball.
So
And
true.
so to be able to say to a buyer or a seller, you know what? Like, you might absolutely be right. Let's go ahead and give it a shot. So I really love that theme of humility in our work because sometimes people have this perception of, I mean, there's lots of perceptions of realtors out there, but I think one of the things that Cory and I are passionate about is elevating the professionalism of our industry, and I think demonstrating humility is a great way to do that.
Mhm. I love that elevating professionalism. I think there's room for that, and I think that is, in my eyes, a hugely overlooked aspect of our business, not from a solo point of view, but from a community point of view. And I want to thank you for that. That's just, it's inspiring, and I want to take that in a little deeper and think about that for myself.
Hmm. Well, and it's so interesting because there are lots of real estate agents that have this like authoritative response, and that can work for a lot of people. However, sometimes like your client, like you said, your client's right. There is something to that saying where clients are always right, right? And then, if you fight them on it and they end up being right, then who are they gonna blame or look at? And yeah, it's so, so true. So, Darcy, do you have like a niche in your business, or yeah, tell us a little bit more about like your business and your maybe even like how many deals you do a year, that kind of thing.
Yeah, sure. I would say one of my niches is investment real estate. People throw the word investment out all the time, but there really is something to be a real estate agent that does investments, because it's not necessarily, oh, someone wants passive income. There are many people that don't care about passive income. They're looking for just to park money and build equity. There are people who passive income's great, and that is a numbers game. So that's one niche. And then, of course, driven by what are our clients' goals, there's flipping houses. I would say my other niche is that I'm really, really, really I follow trends of design. I love color. I keep up with how color is changing in a house and in architecture. I can't tell you enough about there. There is it. Some people are like, okay, that's enough on looking at houses and design. I never feel that way. I'm always like, oh my God. And I'll even go a step further and say that sometimes if I see a beautiful wallpaper, I'm like, I got to design a room around this because I just can see it. So I think one of a little bit of what someone gets when they work with me in terms of buyers is we can vision a house that's maybe not staged that great, or opening up a wall if it's not load bearing. And there's just a lot that if they're open to it, I bring to the table in terms of, look, you may not think this kitchen has enough light. Let's say we've all heard that. Okay. I want to see my kids playing outside in the garden while I'm cooking. Fair, absolutely fair. But how about putting a beautiful window in? Because guess what? That sink does face the garden. And I think having remodeled my own houses, I've never really been a developer, just FYI. But having, I've owned a lot of houses, I pretty much know how much this construction costs. And a ballpark figure is really helpful when we're on tour. On the other side of it is staging a house. No, I don't stage anymore. I want to say that to every real estate agent out there. You do not have to bring stuff in from your house or your garage. It is a lot of work and you just don't have to do it. So hacks along the way, because I am design centric, hacks along the way, I'd love to throw these out, is if your clients go, hell no, I'm not going to do that, spend that money on staging. There are rental companies where, you know what, that furniture is nice. And they'll even bring in art. So you hire a handy person, it is so much cheaper. And the other thing about that hack is you have to be very careful about the contract. I've had some real difficult situations where I've used that hack, and then I've had problems on the back end of them picking it up. So I just want to say though, but if you get a good, so that's one hack. But yeah, I would say that those are the things I bring to the table. I care about stress. It's only been in the last few years I ask a question, what does a stress-free experience selling feel like to you? And I start with feeling, and then I go, and then I break it down. How many times do you want to hear from me? Do you want me to take over so that you don't have to think about anything? Would you like to be involved so I can keep you updated on, some of the work that's going to happen around your house after you approve, some of these things? I break it down because my job is not to create more stress. My job is to take it away. But that's different for every person. And I think we all know, we've all learned the hard way that our best intentions were so stressful for a client. And we were coming from love and we're coming from caring. And so now I just literally, they kind of like, do we need to talk about something? Like, yeah, we do actually. This is actually the most important driver for me, making your life, making this transaction feel good. So that's one thing. How many houses do I sell? I guess I sell about 7 to 8 houses a year. I would say I'm not someone who's looking for, I am, I guess the way I approach it is I want to have a good experience. I don't want to be overloaded, but I want to keep my business going. I would like to take a vacation. So that's enough for me. And I'm just really focusing on a medium. My sweet spot is 2 million to 7. I'm actually not a $15 million salesperson. I'm just not. It isn't my wheelhouse. I'm not looking for that kind of a sale. I really like a little faster paced. I think, feel, and speak kind of fast. I'm a fast processor, so the expensive house that sit on the market is just not. It's not kind of how I roll here.
I appreciate that a lot, Darcy, because we talk in our circles about, there's generally expectation for a lot of agents that if you did, 2 million last year, that, well, this next year you need to like do 4 million. And then, and just this like incremental, doubling or tripling. And for a lot of us, it's like, well, what is the sweet spot for you? Like,
Yeah,
where does that intersect where you have the time freedom, financial freedom, the lack of stress, but you're also meeting your goals and you're paying your bills and
right.
you have obligations that cost money, but I appreciate that perspective of finding what works for you and just settling into that sweet spot in the way you do your business and the way you structure your life and you have pursuits outside of your work, and that's such a healthy approach. And it's not to begrudge someone who does have the goal of 15 million or 30 million or you name it. That's great if they have the capacity for that and they've got the systems and the structure around that. It's great. Good for them. But I think a lot of agents will kind of hear like some freedom in what you shared about your own experience. So I love that. Can you talk a bit about mindset and how that is just part of your work experience?
Yeah. I would say that, and for everyone listening to the call, we have all been completely blindsided, rug pulled out from under us, can't believe this deal fell apart. Can't believe this client walked. And I'd say the first 3 years in real estate, I cried every day. I wasn't used to sales. I was used to being a healer, I was used to paying people, their bodies, moving beautifully. And then I went into boom, transactional work like this. I've always been a mindset person. I have a lot of background in meditation, but I recently became a mindset coach, and I got my certification a year and a half ago of life coaching for many different reasons, but I felt like for all of us, we need to be able to work with our own personal state of mind and confidence and stress. There's a lot of stressors, as we all know, in real estate. Mindset for me is bridging the unseen forces and the attraction of business and my everyday brain and what I say to myself. And I'll break it down really simple. If you're in real estate and you have your goals, and your goals are to sell, let's just throw out a number, $12 million. This is what I said to myself, which was insane. $12 million by May something, right? And that on a deepest level, that's unrealistic. But you just are like, hell, I'm going to do it. Like, that's how I've been. Okay. Yes, I can do it. I'm going to do it. And, you just drop in for a moment. You go, wait a minute. Hey, Darcy, hey, do you think, what is that going to take? Right. Like, break it down. And then you close your eyes and you picture your day to day to get $12 million of business closed in the next 4 months. That's a hell of a lot of business, even in the Bay Area. Okay. So when the going gets tough, when you're setting unrealistic goals, when you're pushing yourself too hard, when you're a hyperachiever. I have been a hyperachiever. I am recovering as a hyperachiever. And your client, this just happened to me. I was just about staging House and Wine Country, and she's like, no, Darcy, I'm not selling. I got to work on my health. And I was like, what? I mean, like, it was day to day. I was like systematically ready to get the house on the market. So when we have those moments, it's not about what we did wrong. It's about how do we reset? And mindset to me is about taking a breath, taking a moment, and realizing that, yeah, you're up against a lot of anger, frustration, not feeling seen, whatever it is. And you have to take all of that and find something inside of yourself that brings you back to it'll be okay. And how that works for me, what is mindset work for me? Sometimes it's writing down all of the things that I'm so upset about that happened to me with that client. Sometimes it's saying and turning I was angry when this, and then turning that I was angry at this into I'm grateful because that moment taught me. So sometimes I do everything I'm frustrated about, and then I do everything on another column that kind of is a transformative moment if I were to stop and just drop in. Another mindset thing that I will do often is shut my computer down and say, for the rest of the day, I'm not doing real estate. I'm going to get out in nature because I really need to regroup around I'm part of the bigger world. I'm part of animals. I'm part of trees. I'm part of my garden. Gardens are a big love of mine. And I will just get outside. I live in the beautiful Bay Area. There's water around me. I will go to the water. I'm from Rhode Island originally. Anything being by the water will calm me down. And then I'll say the last thing in mindset that I'll do is I'll close my eyes and I will breathe. And breath, it's scientific that breath will get into the amygdala in the center of your brain, and it will begin to take the stress, fight, flight that is going on with all of us. We have this, and we have to interrupt that And in order to do that, you have to get your proprioceptive system, your energetic body, to calm itself down. And so breath work is really important to me.
Yes, and it's something that's free and we have it at our fingertips. It's funny, my son, we had the big hurricane back in September and we're still like all recovering and it's very traumatic, all the things. But just my little 6-year-old is dealing with a lot of like when it's windy, he kind of freaks out. But the therapist at his school mentioned a calm kit and I was like, oh, okay. And there's this little ball that, like, when you pull on it and breathe in, then you breathe out, and you just do like this slow motion. But the times that he's like panicked, or he's been very mad, or he's been sad, or all the things, and he does that, holy smokes, it's like instantaneous. And it's just so cool to see that. I do practice a lot of breathing when I'm struggling to, and outdoors is fantastic. But just to see it from a 6-year-old and realize like how powerful just that breathing, oh, those are such great little nuggets, Darcy. I love it.
Thank you.
Okay, so I know that, you mentioned all these mindset things, but when you've lost motivation in real estate,
Yep.
which we all probably have been there, done that, or you're perfect.
But
But
I'm not.
are there other tools or things that you do to kind of reset than what you just kind of discussed?
When things really fall apart for me in real estate, I mean, I'd love to know if anyone you have interviewed have said it never happens to me, because I imagine this is the hardest business. And I go and I listen to really old timers, and they always say the same thing. This business is tough. Don't think, every day is just peachy, because it isn't. And we all know that.
It'll chew you up and spit you out, that's for sure.
It will chew you up and spit you out. I call someone just because I need perspective. I ask myself the question, what is it that you've hung in with this client which hasn't worked for a long time, and you're still hanging in with that client, and now here you are. So sometimes I just try to learn from the moment. I cry. I just let myself feel my feelings. I'm like, I am so tired right now from working so hard. I have nothing to show for those hours. I couldn't have foreseen that. I mean, open houses are open houses. You have a listing, you have a listing. It didn't sell, it doesn't sell. Client wants to rent. Okay, well, you make some money as the renting. It's not my thing, really, but I will rent when I need to. But, it just is really kind of hard. I think calling someone and just just playing out the scenario. And I also want to say one thing. I don't know how you guys are, but my sales manager at Compass at 1699 Van Ness, which is it's a heavy hitting office, meaning they sell the highest amount in San Francisco. So it can be intimidating when you go to meetings with all of these heavy hitters, right? They're selling a lot of real estate and it's high, high, high end. But I call him and I just say, I can't handle this. Now I know he's super busy, but I don't care, okay? Like I need help. And also sometimes I need to get it off my mind. Like, let me play this scenario out because I want to know if I could have turned this around a different way. And I don't care how great of a I've studied negotiation, I taught negotiation. Even if you feel like you kind of have a handle of negotiation, sometimes you just need to say, what else could have I have done? Or if it's things are going hard before it get escalates with a client, just to call someone else, because someone else has a better perspective. You're in the middle of it. And I really am, I got to get this off my head. I'm losing sleep at night. How do you see the situation that's going on? And it really helps to have a different perspective.
I love that because I feel like it's a great example of working smarter, not harder. Because you could say, like, oh, I have a stagnant listing. I'm just going to spend like 8 hours and I'm going to like just drill into like, how could I get more eyes on this listing? How could I get more feet through the door? How could I get more blah, 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 blah? You name
Mhm.
it. And sometimes, like you said, it's just a perspective shift, so to call a colleague and say, hey, what would you do in this situation? Or do you have any ideas that I haven't thought of? Or calling your broker in charge, your sales manager, like just to
Yeah,
get out of your own head, I feel like is half the battle, because we shoulder all of this thinking like, well, my reputation's on the line. And if I don't make this happen, then I'm not going to get another deal, or this client's not going to refer me, or,
yeah,
you name it. So
yeah.
I love that practical example. Are there other things that you have done or think about in terms of that category of like working smarter, not harder?
Yeah, that's really been up for me lately because I started getting back into some art and I'm having such a great time. And it's really filling out my life. So I'm not just, my son is 28, so he lives in LA. So it's not like I'm doing the day-to-day parenting anymore. So working smarter, not harder. I wanted to say one of the ways to work smarter, not harder, and I'm saying this to every realtor who really just wants to feel busy, I would say trust that you don't need, the greatest thing about real estate is you can choose your own hours and time of how you work. And like someone said to me recently, because my client does not want to drop the price of this condo in fabulous Hayes Valley, which is an A neighborhood in San Francisco. And I just said, all right, I'm not doing all the open houses. Okay, I'm not going to do them. I want my weekends free anyway. I'm going to find people to do my open houses. That's smarter, not harder. Another way of working smarter, not harder is when you don't have work, don't do it. Go out and have fun. When you're not, when you already have your, I'm going to do this and it's done at 11:30, because you already hit everything on your list to keep your business going, you're done. Go take yoga, go cycling. You know what? Go do errands. Start, think about a whatever it is that you always say to yourself in the back of your mind, you don't have time to do, now's the time to do it. That's working smarter and harder. I think real estate, to be honest, if I could just veer a little bit, this is a little bit further out from our mainstream way of thinking linearly. I think real estate is about being ready for the client that shows up. And the reason why I'm saying this is that if you're telling yourself that whatever you're telling yourself, I didn't make those goals and I was supposed to get 3 appointments this week and I didn't, and you're saying that, and this just happened to me, okay? I was really working on being ready and attracting business, not chasing it. Okay, I'm a big chaser, just so you know. I'm gonna I want it, and I'm a hyperachiever, and I'm gonna get it. Okay, that's how I've been. It hasn't worked. I'm just telling you. This is a little bit of my personal growth. And I finally stopped. I'm like, you're gonna kill yourself. You got sick. Now you're better. You're gonna kill yourself. This is gonna kill you. So I was like, I got to attract business. So I started thinking about opening up to whoever, instead of feeling guilty by saying I'm a real estate agent, because there's a lot of real estate agents and they all think you're pushy. I was like, start from the place of you have a bouquet of flowers and you're going to offer someone a flower when they ask you. So I was at this club that I belonged to called the Battery in San Francisco, and I walked up to the bar. I had an event upstairs in another area of the club, a talk that I was going to. And this guy was there, and I don't know about you, but sometimes he size people up. I'm sorry, ever agents, I do this, but I was like, oh, interesting. I bet he's, I don't know, I was, sports guy. That's what I said. Okay. I'm kind of arty. So, you can imagine, anyways, we got talking, and I was sitting there with my glass of wine. And he's like, yeah, my wife and I are looking for a house and we haven't been able to find anything. And that I closed in the middle of Christmas a 2,500,000 deal because, and the first thing says, do you have an aid? It just so happened it was in my backyard. Okay. Like it was literally in my neighborhood that he was trying to find a house for 2 years, which there's something wrong because there's great houses all around me. And so his family member lived an hour and a half away. That was his realtor. Not a problem. I don't want to dish anyone. You do your business the way you do your business. We all need business. And if it's further away, power to everyone. So I just said, well, I may have this house on this street. I love that street. Cool. And then he called me. I go, I'm so sorry. You have a realtor. FYI, guys out there, you're not turning away business when you say, please have your realtor call me. You're not turning away business. I can't say this enough. They brought me in. They were like, we need you. And I showed up to the meeting to meet their realtor in a cafe. And I had off-market houses that she wasn't Compass. So I had off-market private exclusive. And I said, are you ready to go on tour? They're like, what? And I got 3 houses to show you today. And they were, and also she was from the East Coast. She's New England. So she's like, we have the same accent. She goes, what? And they go, let's go. We're going to go see 3 great houses. They ended up buying 2 weeks later. I'm not kidding. So the biggest thing I would say is that working smarter is getting your head around anything could change at any moment. And when I walked up to that bar, you can bet I did not think that I was going to meet someone. I really enjoyed this guy. He's so really super smart, and it was fun to talk to him. And I loved hearing about his wife. And I thought I loved everything. It was straightforward. And you just like, we don't know what to do. We're just not finding a house. And they had like up to $3 million. I mean, there was no reason they weren't finding a house. What they weren't finding a house, why they weren't finding a house is that other agent, as great as she is, and we work so well together, is that she just wasn't here to get in there. So she was missing out on putting the offer in or getting them in. And so I was like, well, when I say, let's go, are you going to go? They're like, yeah, we are, because they're about to have kids. So anyway, I don't know. I hope that answered your question, but be ready, meaning
That's
that
fantastic.
in your heart, be open.
It's fantastic. And, don't discount your relationships with other agents because you
Totally.
seriously never know where life will take you there. Okay, well, as we round up here, what are your goals for this year? I'm so curious.
Oh my God. Oh, my goals have been changing all over the map. I'm nearly serious.
Oh,
My
yeah,
goal,
me too.
I
I
started
get
off
it.
with something. My goals this year, right now, I feel like I'm taking small goals in a bite-sized situation. I am attracting 3 new clients. Some older clients are coming back into the fold, I will say that much. I've got some runners in and runner out. They run in, they run out, they run in, they run out. But my goals right now are 3 new clients, like immediately, like in this month and in next month, May. I have 3 new clients, so we're in motion and we are putting in offers or I'm listing a house. So that's my immediate goal. I'd say all around, I've had things fall apart. So I'd say that after the 3 new clients, which I think I'm gonna get, then I want to do 4 more deals for the rest of the year. And I think I'm coming back to the East Coast on a trip, so I'm really excited about that. But those are my goals. And yeah,
Good for you. I love that. I love that you have a kind of a clear, path, but you're also like flexible and adaptable and you can respond to circumstances and things along the way. That's so important. So in closing, what piece of advice would you give to a newer agent who is in building mode, trying to kind of level up their business? Maybe it was a slow start. What advice would you offer?
I heard this the other day when I went to this talk with this person who'd been in business for like, 30, 40 years. And she said one thing to the newer agent. She said, look, because you're a newer agent does not mean you should not be getting business. What you have as a newer agent, if you're listening to this and you're a new agent, what you have, a lot of us don't have anymore. You have bright, joyful excitement. You can do it and you will do it. And that you want to harness your excitement for this industry and don't ever let any other agent minimize it. Because that is, if someone had just told me that, I would have realized how great it was to have that energy. The other thing is that networking with other agents, I never did it, just so you know. I never did it. And it was a huge loss of business for me. It meant that I had to work twice as hard because I never got any referrals. I've seen agents do everything for a busy group team, meaning that that team needed blah, 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 blah. And they would, new agents, if you can walk up to a team that you see is busy in your office, hey, is there anything you need? I would love to help you out. You're not trying to get on their team. You're just basically trying to let them know I'm right here. And because that'll come around as well. Or maybe a solo agent that just happen to has a lot going on. It is really worth setting up meetings with agents, because when they can't show a house, or they can't do an open house, or when they need keys delivered, they're going to remember you, and those referrals are going to come back. So that's what I would say.
That's fantastic. And a great thing is, hey, you have so much time. You're not juggling 7 clients at one time. So you can give everybody your undivided attention, right?
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Darcy. We really appreciate your time, and I cannot wait to keep connecting with you. And thank you again so much.
Loved it. Very same, and would love to stay connected.
Thank you, Darcy. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Momentum in Real Estate. We hope you found valuable insights and strategies to propel your real estate journey forward.
If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us continue to deliver content that resonates with you. Remember, success in real estate is about continuous learning, growth, and serving others. Keep that momentum going and watch your business thrive.
Until next time, keep pushing forward and bringing your real estate dreams to life.
This is Cory Wall
And Kristin James signing off from Momentum in Real Estate.